So tell me, what is the Liberal Democrats' strategy going to be as we wait to find out who the new Prime Minister is? What's the strategy going to be to hold that new Prime Minister to account on Brexit?
Well, we're very clear, unlike the other main opposition party in the UK, which is the Labour Party, which basically has a position of wanting to stay in the European Union or leave it, depending on what part of the country you're in. The Liberal Democrats are absolutely clear. We want to have another referendum, a people's vote, on whatever Brexit deal there is, and we want to stay in the European Union and stop Brexit. No form of Brexit is acceptable to us, only staying in the European Union, and that is a very clear position. But we've got a bigger problem in the UK, which is that this whole Brexit chaos that you guys have been reporting in this like gazebo city that is often erected around Westminster when we've got big events, it is illustrative of how our politics is broken, and the two main parties at the heart of our political system are divided. You'll be talking a lot about the divisions in the Conservative Party today, but also the Labour Party. They're so ensconced in their own civil wars that they're incapable of focusing on the problems of the country.
But the problem the Liberal Democrats have is that the party only has 12 MPs in the House behind me. And how do you turn the success that you saw in terms of percentage of votes in this country in the European elections, how do you turn that kind of success into a bigger presence in this place?
Well, if we have a general election, which I think most commentators think is quite likely in the next 12 months, then we will be in a very good position to do what a third party has not done in the UK for a generation. And obviously, you know, there are good examples abroad of where this can happen. For example, of course, Justin Trudeau in Canada, where the Canadian Liberals in October 2015 went from third place to first place. I think that's absolutely possible for the Liberal Democrats to do.
Even with the party system, even with the first past the post system that we have.
That's right. Of course, in Canada, they also have a first past the post system. But I think we are seeing levels of discontent which are quite unprecedented with our political system. And if people want change, they're simply wasting their vote if they vote for one of the two main parties in our country that has overseen this Brexit mess. Whereas in Jo Swinson, the new leader that we elected yesterday, who won a landslide majority, you've got a 39-year-old mother of two, very modern politician who's gone through the ups and downs that everyday people in our country go through, and provides a very attractive alternative to Boris Johnson, who's highly likely to be announced as the incoming Prime Minister today, and has a kind of politics that harks back to the 1950s, and the main opposition leader Jeremy Corbyn, who has a politics that harks back to the 1970s, when actually what we need is somebody who's looking at the here and now and into the future. And that is what we and Jo have been arguing for much of this time, because we've got big challenges.
And one of Jo Swinson's tactics is to take some legal action, we understand, in a Scottish court to try and stop any attempts to suspend Parliament. What are your expectations there? What is the plan?
Well, for your viewers, we have the extraordinary situation of Boris Johnson, the next Prime Minister, having led a campaign to leave the European Union under the guise of protecting parliamentary sovereignty, ensuring our democracy rests here in Westminster and not in some other place. But at the same time as he is about to take up the office of Prime Minister, he is looking at suspending Parliament in the lead-in to the scheduled date of our departure from the European Union on October the 31st, so that he can force it through, and so that Parliament can't, in the interests and at the, if you like, instigation of the people, stop us leaving the European Union without a deal. Because whilst there was a vote 3 years ago to leave the European Union, it was never presented by Boris Johnson and others as something which would result in us leaving without a deal, with the catastrophe that would pose, not only economically but in so many other areas.
There was a lot of talk at the time of the last election, of course, about how the Tories would take no deal over a bad deal, but of course then they didn't win an outright majority.
Well, that's right.
Let me ask you about defections, because you, of course, have changed parties, as I referenced. Are you expecting others in the Conservative Party who might be unhappy with Boris Johnson's leadership, if indeed he is named as the leader, are you expecting defections towards the Liberal Democrats?
I think there are a lot of people on that train. But as to when they get off the train and arrive at the destination, only they in their hearts know. Leaving a political party is a massive thing. It isn't just a political decision. It can often have implications for your family. Some people were born into their parties, if you like. There are other halves, councillors or work in their party too. So it's a huge decision, but we have been speaking to a number of Conservative and Labour members of Parliament who are deeply, deeply dissatisfied with what is happening in their parties.
If you were to give me a vague number of people you might have been speaking to on either side?
Well, a good few. I don't want to put a specific number on it because I don't want to set hairs running unnecessarily, but there is absolutely no doubt that if you look at the two main parties in British politics, they have very much gone to their extremes, and the Conservative Party has been hijacked by a kind of Donald Trump form of politics of the populist right, and in Jeremy Corbyn you have the main opposition party hijacked by the populist left, and there are a lot of members of Parliament who were not elected on that basis. Indeed, they didn't join their parties wanting to be part of a fringe concern. They wanted to be mainstream political people doing change for our country.
And we saw Joe Swinson talking about that yesterday and talking about how liberalism is alive and well in the UK. Just finally then, Chuka, if we are to brace ourselves for some sort of unexpected event, a challenge to Boris Johnson's leadership in the very early days of his premiership, if, as I say, he is elected, or even to Jeremy Hunt's premiership, what form would that challenge take, and could we see something surprising this week?
I'm not sure that there will be anything majorly surprising this week, other than the appointment of a new cabinet.
So no vote of no confidence
I
this
don't
week?
think there is an appetite to do that right now, because the feeling, in order for a vote of no confidence in the government to succeed, it would require a number of Conservative MPs to withdraw their confidence in a Prime Minister who will have only been in office for one day. The new Prime Minister will be taking office tomorrow after Theresa May, our sitting Prime Minister, does her final round of the Prime Minister's questions circus that you see in the House of Commons chamber. So around 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, 4 to 5 p.m, Boris Johnson will become the Prime Minister, and then Parliament only sits for a further day on Thursday before going on its summer recess, and I think it's highly unlikely that there will be an attempt to table a vote of no confidence. Okay. However, in order to have a general election before the scheduled date of departure in October, when Parliament returns, it will have 2 days, the 2nd and the 3rd of September, within which to withdraw confidence in the government, which would precipitate a general election happening before the scheduled date of departure. If a vote of confidence happens any later than that, then it will lead to a general election, but only after we have left the European Union on October.
So 2nd or 3rd of September, dates to watch. Thank you.
We're working to stop Brexit.